Yo, Animatormon here, with a review of the Doctor Who episode entitled The 11th Hour.
Spoiler warning for Doctor Who Series 5 through 7.
This episode originally aired on April 3rd, 2010, so you're probably wondering why I've decided to review it 4 years later. The reason is that to this day I consider The 11th Hour to be my favorite episode of all time. So I've decided to explain to you all why this episode is the best thing since sliced bread. This episode begins with the TARDIS crash landing to Earth, where the Doctor meets a little girl named Amelia Pond. She has a crack in her bedroom wall that the Doctor discovers is actually a crack in the skin of the universe. Behind it is an alien prison, where the warden seems to be searching for a prisoner Zero. The Doctor closes the crack and seems to be about to discover something important, when suddenly the TARDIS begins to dematerialize. He tells Amelia that he'll be back in 5 minutes. When he returns, he runs into the house, coming to a realization. There, he meets a young woman dressed as a police officer. She says that Amelia hasn't lived in the house for 6 months, and that she lives there now. The Doctor points out a room that she never noticed before, hiding in the corner of her eye. In the room is prisoner Zero, who had been hiding there for years. A message is heard around the world saying that if prisoner Zero isn't handed over, then they will incinerate the planet. The woman then reveals to the Doctor that he had been gone for 12 years, not 6 months, and that she is Amelia Pond, now going by Amy. The Doctor, Amy, and with the help of her boyfriend Rory, manage to help the Atraxi, the aliens looking for prisoner Zero, locate and capture him. But the day isn't saved just yet. The Doctor calls the Atraxi back and gives them a lecture about incinerating planets. He then reveals to them that he's the Doctor and is the protector of Earth, causing the Atraxi to fly off in fear. The episode ends with the Doctor taking Amy off in his new TARDIS to see the universe. This episode was written by Stephen Moffat. It was his first episode written as showrunner and head writer. His previous episodes included The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, The Girl in the Fireplace, Blink, Science in the Library, and Forest of the Dead. He also wrote the Children in Need special, Time Crash. At the time, this was the first episode to fully feature the 11th Doctor, who had a lot of doubters at the time. The one thing that a lot of people were unsure about was Matt Smith, the newest and youngest actor to play the Doctor. It was to everyone's delight when viewing this episode to find that Matt Smith was a superb actor, doing a fantastic performance as the Doctor. Yes, Matt Smith is probably the brightest thing that shines in this episode. He does serious, he does goofy, he does mysterious. He proves without a doubt that he knows what he's doing. I love that the episode starts right where The End of Time Part 2 ended. The sequence of the TARDIS crashing to Earth is just a joy to watch. I really like the music by Murray Gold during this sequence, called Down to Earth. Speaking of Murray Gold's music, I think it's safe to assume that everyone is now familiar with the 11th Doctor's theme, entitled I Am the Doctor. It is a memorable and all-around epic piece of music. All this music is great as usual. Having the Doctor meet Amelia as a young child and then see her again 12 years later is a great way to set up a connection between her and the Doctor in a short amount of time. She's been idolizing him for 12 years, giving her a really good reason to run off with him at the end. This episode reminds me a lot of a classic Who episode. No TARDIS, no sonic screwdriver, just the Doctor and the help of his companions, or soon-to-be companions. In this episode, we see a sequence of events through the eyes of the Doctor, which is represented with a stop-motion style runaround of a single moment. This is a brilliantly creative scene and gives a nice insight into the Doctor's mind. The solution to the problem in this episode is incredibly simple, while also being incredibly clever at the same time. It gives us a great reason why we should trust this new Doctor. Amy and Rory are very good characters that are mostly very simple in this episode. But that's okay, they get fleshed out greatly over the course of the next couple seasons. The ending of this episode is all kinds of perfect. The Doctor getting his costume in the hospital is a really nice nod to the 8th and 3rd Doctors. By the way, did you know that the bow tie was Matt Smith's idea? He seemed to have been inspired by the 2nd Doctor episode, Tomb of the Cybermen. This sequence where the Doctor scolds the Atraxi just gives me goosebumps every time I see it. It's just epic. And the Doctor montage is always welcomed. Having Matt Smith walk through Tennant's face is awesome and symbolic. Having the Atraxi fly off when the Doctor tells them to run is something that helps us set up a running theme through the series. I love the new TARDIS. I like that the blue is well, bluer. I like that the bigger on the inside is now much bigger on the inside. I love the new interior, and today remains my favorite TARDIS interior. I also really like the new sonic screwdriver as well. Having followed the series to the most current episode, Time of the Doctor, it becomes a real treat to go back and watch this episode. Having followed the series to the most current episode, Time of the Doctor, it becomes a real treat to go back and watch this episode. A lot of things were set up here that didn't get payoffs until the end of Series 7. But at the time, we didn't really know they'd be running plot threads, so we didn't really think much of it. The crack, which will play a huge part in Time of the Doctor. The mention of the Silence, who we won't see till Series 6, and responsible for blowing up the Doctor's TARDIS in the Series 5 finale. Little Amy hearing the TARDIS materialize in the morning, which turns out was the Doctor coming from the Angels Take Manhattan in Series 7. All in all, the 11th Hour is full of great acting and brilliant writing, especially in retrospect. I give this episode a 10 out of 10. Absolutely perfect. I'd like to dedicate this video to Matt Smith, a review of my favorite episode for my favorite Doctor. We'll all miss you greatly. And bow ties are, and will always be, cool.
Catch you on the flip side.